Welcome back, Hawks. In today's video, we're going to talk or review, depending on your situation, on how to set up a multi-view, or in this case, a 3-view drawing, and some tips and tricks to lay that out. So for this particular activity, we're going to be using this guide block drawing. Okay, and we can see some overall sizes, and I want suggest focusing on the 1.5 inches for the height, the 5 inches for the length, and the 2.5 inches for the depth. Okay. So with that in mind, I'm going to go to AutoCAD. I'm going to make sure that I open up the main mech temp. Again, you should hopefully know how to do that. And I've already saved this drawing off as the guide block. If we take a look at the name, this is the guide block. Okay. So I'm going to suggest that you either start with the object layer, or if it makes you visually keep things more organized, maybe you start with the construction layer. I'm going to probably leave it on the object layer here just to speed things up for this demonstration. I'm going to start with an X line. So I type in XL, and you see this X line is the first option. If I hit enter, I have ortho on. That is our F8 key, or the button down here in the bottom right. And I'm going to pick a space in model. I'm going to start with the bottom left-hand corner of my front view. So I'm going to place a horizontal line and a vertical line. If it helps you remember what you're doing here, I would suggest using the fillet command with a radius of 0. And I'm just doing key entry, so I went to the fillet command by typing F and hit an enter. Then I typed in R, enter, or I could click on the radius grade area here in the command, and then I typed in 0, enter, for the size of the radius. Remember, a radius of 0 will give us a 90-degree corner. So what I just found right there was this bottom left-hand corner right here. That's what I just identified. So now I just set in motion. I'm going to choose to either go horizontally, so find the other side over here, and that'll be 5 inches over. And then I have to decide what kind of spacing I want to leave between my views. And it's generally suggested that somewhere between 1 to 2 inches should work. Maybe a good place to start is a compromise between 1 and 2, and we'll go 1.5. We want to try to show the object as big as possible. And we also need to make sure we have enough room between the two views to put in a majority of those dimensions. So I'm going to use the offset command. I'm going to offset 5 inches. I'm going to offset this line over 5. And you'll see, I was much zoomed out. Maybe you're very zoomed in. Depends on your situation. So offset again, and this time I'm going to do 1.5, and I'm going to go over 1.5. Let's go back, and then I have a 2.5 inch depth and a 1.5 inch height. So offset command, 1.5 for our height. I'm going to offset 1.5 again. That was for the space between the views, and then I'm going to offset 2.5 for the width of, the depth of the top view and the depth of the side view. And then I'm going to do some trimming. Get rid of these lines that I don't need. That might be confusing me. Okay. So now I have my 3 views blocked out. And then depending on how you're feeling or the complexity of the object, I usually like to take this top right-hand corner of the front view. I'm going to draw a line at a specific distance. I'm just going to make it 10 inches with an angle of 45. That'll give me this line that will allow me to do a construction line to transfer information between the top and the side view. Okay? And I'm going to get rid of those for clarity. That is the biggest thing for setup, Hawks. After that, I would probably start with the center of the circles. So that looks like the best view for that is going to be this top view. So I'm going to go and offset a ½ inch over, then 1.25, and then 1.5. So ½ inch, so 0.5, 1.25, offset 0.5. And actually that's this end in, and actually this one at the same time. Then we'll go back, and we'll do a 1.25. And if I, then that didn't take it, offset 1.25, offset this one over, and if I'm thinking correctly, if I offset this one 1.25, we should then have a dimension of 1.5 between these two. Okay, so I'm going to make these a center line right now because those are centers of the circle location, just for reference. And now I want to put the circles in. The circles are a 3/4 inch diameter, so we'll do a circle diameter from the midpoint. Okay, this is our object snap. So that's down here. We've got our O snap, which is F3, and we got our tracking. Okay. If you don't have midpoint turned on, if you right click down here on the object snap tracking options, you'll see that there are some things that we can turn on. So midpoint is turned on for me. That is that triangle that popped up. If that doesn't happen for you, again, you may want to come down here to our object snap tracking, which is F11, right click on it. You probably can also right click on the snap options and you can select them there. They look a little bit different, but they should turn on the same things. Okay, so let me try that again. I'm going to do a circle from the midpoint with a diameter of 0.75. And, oh, you know what? I'm going to put that on the object layer right now so I don't forget. And then I can either draw another circle or we can practice the copy command and move it from its center point to the other side. Okay. Next item, I'm going to work on this detail down here. And so I'm going to work in the the right side view. And it looks like I need an offset of ½ inch side from each side. So ½ inch over, ½ inch. So take this edge, ½ inch over this way, take this edge, ½ inch over this way, and then the bottom line a ½ inch up. Okay, so I'm going to do an offset 0.5, ½ inch over, ½ inch over, ½ inch up, and I'm going to come in with the trim command and get rid of the stuff that I don't need to see. Okay. All right, so we've got this detail here for the bottom. We've got the widths of the top. Let's now start to transfer information except for one other thing. I think I need to figure out where this line is at. So I'm going to take the top line that I have here and offset it ½ inch down. ½ inch down. So let's go back over AutoCAD. Offset 0.5, ½ inch down. And now I've got enough information that I can share stuff between views. And this is where the construction lines come in. Okay, so I'm just going to project these two down. And I'm going to do some trimming. I'm going to trim that line there, and that line there, and that line there. And then I can get rid of my construction lines. Okay, all I have to do then is come in with an object line and connect those 2 points in this case. One there, one there. If I continue to use my construction line, in this case it's red, I'm going to trim it here and here. Get rid of this. This now becomes a hidden line. Let's go back to the construction layer just to keep things the same. I use my XL again, bring this up, bring that corner up, bring them over from the intersection points there, do some trimming, trim those, and now those two lines become hidden lines. And get rid of these construction lines. Okay? Now, last but not least, Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. We're almost done, but we're not. I need to bring this one over. Ooh, make sure I get that on the corner. And this one gets trimmed as well. And this turns into a hidden line. All right, I haven't saved in a while, so I'm gonna do a Control S to save. Last thing we have to worry about is the circles. Okay, circle information. This is where most people struggle on this object. So we're gonna do, in fact, before I get too far, let's just put the center marks in those circles. One there, one there. Okay, and let's go back to our construction line. So there's a couple ways to draw circles here or find out where the circles need to be. Some people will do this. They will draw lines from these 3 points, okay? So the center of the circle and the 2 edges, that will give us a diameter, and that circle only exists in this space, okay? That circle can't exist above this red line, and it cannot exist below the hidden line, right? There's a void up in here, so circle can't, we don't have a circle there, we don't have a circle down here below the void. So then some people, again, this might work for you, might end up changing layers and trimming, like you see here. Let me get rid of that. Oh, do it down here. Okay. Oh, and I trimmed those incorrectly. So let's get rid of those. And then, again, one of the common things is we need to see a dash here. And on previous drawings, a lot of people aren't extending the center mark beyond the edge of the object. The hidden lines should stop here, but the center mark should extend beyond the top and the bottom surfaces by, let's say, about 1/8 of an inch. Okay, so what you can do, you can see I have highlighted that center mark, and if I grab with a left click the top or the bottom grip, in this case the top, and I'm going to drag it in the direction I want it to go, and I'm going to type in a distance. You can see that distance I've inputted up here in the command window. I just typed it in, and I'm going to hit enter. And what AutoCAD will do, it will extend that point by 1/8 of an inch, or whatever distance you put in, and it will go vertical because, well, I have ortho on. So if you don't have ortho on, that won't work, okay? So that's one way to get the circle information there. And I could certainly do the same thing with a construction line, right? I can do a construction line to do the same concept, okay? And trim this one up. Okay, so I could do the same thing and create those lines. The struggle people will come up with is, well, I'm gonna have to do some math to figure out where this is at, or again, I can use that 45-degree line that we created to find the center of the object. So if you're paying attention, a couple different ways we can draw just lines straight down and trim. We can do construction lines and project and trim those as necessary. But I only need to really do that on one circle, okay? One circle. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to select with a window, okay? This is a from the left to right selection window. I'm going to select this information for that circle, and I'm going to copy it. Okay, I don't think we've done too much copying, a little bit on circles and whatnot, but now it's a hidden circle. So I'm going to copy information from, let's say, this top intersection point, and I'm going to copy it right to here, right? That's from the center of this circle down, and since the circles are the same size, I can place that one there, and I can do the same thing over here. Hit escape, delete my projection lines, and I effectively have the geometry for this object done, okay? Now, some of you will say, Mr. Kraus, I don't see a center dash in that object, okay? Or maybe you're gonna say, Mr. Kraus, I saw this center line option. Huh, okay, well, let's see how that center line thing works. It's new to me, I don't know how to, so I click on that, select the first line, maybe it's this line. Select the second line, maybe it's that line. Look at that. I draw a line from here straight over. Look at that. So the software automatically will create that center mark for me If I want to use that center option, very much like I created using the trim and the extend function. So again, different ways for you to think about going and adding information. Now the big new thing here in this particular file is the fact that on this drawing, we don't see the dashes for the center marks. Okay, and we can see small center marks here in the circle, and we need to change some things. Depending upon the object you're drawing, sometimes there are dashes for hidden lines or the dashes for center marks, and they might not be the size that we need them to. So the new command today is LTSCALE, okay? And this is something you have to type in, LTSCALE, okay? You'll see here up in the drop down, LTSCALE is 1, and we may also need to talk about PSLTSCALE, okay? But right now we're talking about LTSCALE. And you'll see that when I select LTSCALE, it's telling me that there's a line type scale factor of 1. This is adjusting all the line sizes in the entire drawing, okay? So right now it's at 1. If I make it, let's say 10, you can see that the dashes changed size a whole bunch. Well, that's not the direction I want to go. I usually like to make big changes. So I'm going to enter again, and this time I'm going to put 1 back in, so we go back to where we were. And I'm going to hit enter again. Sorry, hitting enter without selecting another command will just repeat the last command. So here we have a 1. I'm going to try 0.5. Okay, and now I can see that I've got center marks, and I've got what look to be much smaller hidden line dashes. Maybe that's too small in the dashes. I'm not sure. So I'm going to hit enter. I'm going to try 0.75. I'm going to split the difference. And that one's too big for me to get the dashes in the center mark. So I need to go and probably do an LTSCALE of 0.5 on this drawing. We'll do a quick save. Last but not least, we're going to go to our A-size paper. Okay. And what I want to do here is I'm going to center this, and we're going to scale this. And I didn't put any dimensions or anything, and I want to just check something because we may have to talk about PSLTSCALE today. So I'm going to get the printer. I'm going to specify the printer that we are currently using, which should be this one for V122. And said I wouldn't take it. Maybe it's this one. Okay. Now I should be able to do a preview. And this is, again, becomes important, Hawks, because I want to make sure that this is going to show up the way I want it to. It is possible in the future that if you do this print preview, these dashes, even though they look okay in our model space, okay, that black background area, they might not print out the way we want them to. This is why the print preview is important. Since I don't see any issues with mine, I'm going to assume yours will not be a problem on this drawing. And so we'll talk about PSLTSCALE maybe on an upcoming drawing. All right, that's the extent of what I'm going to talk about today. Hope that was helpful. Again, you'll need to do dimensions. Let me remind you, Hawks, that your dimensioning should exist primarily in between views. So in this area here, okay, this area here, or this area here, that's where we want them to be. There may be exceptions to that rule depending upon the object, but you want to try to fit as many dimensions between the views as possible. All right, catch you on the next video.